This video is to help us through activity 134 CAD modeling skills. We're going to be looking at numbers 14. We're going to be starting there, and then we're going to, maybe break to find a good concise point to keep this video. So I'm going to kind of work through the steps on the activity through the MyPLTW curriculum, and we can go ahead and start to look at some of the modeling features that can be used to create this part. I'm going to go ahead, I got a new untitled design file, I'm going to hit save. Within activity 134 CAD modeling skills, I've already got a folder created. I'm going to call this the screwdriver case, and I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Now, within the folder, I'm going to create a new component, or in this new file, I'm going to create a new component, and I'm going to call this the screwdriver base, and I'm going to go ahead and say OK. So this is going to be active, and I'm going to go ahead and say create new sketch, and I'm going to choose the top plane here for our base to start off with. I'm going to go ahead and create a polygon. I'm going to do a circumscribed polygon, and I'm going to choose the origin as the center. So I'm going to go ahead and do 2 inches, and then I'm going to go ahead and set 5 in there, and I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. Now, the one thing is just to kind of help maintain a little bit, one thing I might do, I'm going to do a horizontal vertical between this point and the origin, and that'll kind of lock it there into place. At this point, the activity, I did 2 inches as an arbitrary number. We're going to kind of base some measurements off of that. This activity doesn't give us any measurements to kind of work with, so we're just kind of working as we go along. But what we're going to end up doing is I'm going to go ahead and say finish sketch. I'm going to choose extrude. And we're going to approximate an extrusion distance. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this up just a little bit so we can see the effect. And here the taper angle, we're going to set to 45 degrees. Now, the 45 degrees is going to flare out. And what we want is we actually want that to kind of come inward. So kind of like this. Now the extrusion distance, again, we're kind of approximating. Let me see what 0.25 looks like. That looks okay, you know. And so I think we'll go ahead and run with it. Again, we're just using kind of some things there. Okay, so now we're going to create another, for letter B, we're going to create another inward tapered extrusion from the top surface and bring it down toward the bottom. So it looks like what we're going to end up having is we're going to make sure it flares inward towards the top of the part. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to create a new sketch. I'm going to choose the top of the plane. I'm going to use the project tool, and I'm going to go ahead and click these outside lines. Not the very outside lines, but the outside lines of the top face. So you'll see they will turn purple when you get those there. And I'm going to say OK. Six are selected, but should only be 5. I think I might have clicked something twice. But here, 5 sides, goes through. I'm going to go ahead and finish the sketch. I'm going to extrude. This time I'm going to extrude up. Let's go through and do, based on the heights, we'll do 1.5. And we're going to do a taper angle again to the inside. They don't really give us an angle to work with, so I'm going to do 10. Again, it kind of comes to the outside, so let's go to the inside. 10 may be, just from gauging here from the images, maybe just a little bit too much. Let's go with 5, -5. There we go. And I think from that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK. So that's kind of how you can use taper angle on extrusion to make that happen. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to create a loft between 2 shapes in order to create the kind of thing. So this is number 17. We're going to construct a new plane that is offset from the top surface of the model. So this is going to be in the construct panel, and we're going to choose an offset plane. So I'm going to choose the top of my base that I have set, and I want to go ahead and kind of set an offset plane. From the side here, again, they're not giving us any measurements, so I'm going to kind of let's do 0.5. So 0.5 looks to be pretty good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say OK. And then I'm going to go ahead and create a new sketch on the plane. that I just created. And what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to project the outside edges very much like what I did before with the taper. And I want to choose, if I click inside the shape, it'll also go through and pick up the outside boundaries. There we go. So you saw it kind of highlight there. And what we're going to do, and we're going to identify the center point of the pentagon. And what we're going to end up doing is we're also going to go ahead and we're going to create a circle that is centered on the center point of the pentagon. So I'm going to go ahead and click the center point, and the circle looks like it's going to be right about 2.5, something like that. And we're going to end up creating, I'm going to go ahead and say finish sketch. We're going to create a loft between these two parts. Now, it looks like to me this is not very centered. So what I can do here is I can go back into my sketch down here and say edit sketch, and I'm going to go ahead and delete this circle. So maybe what I need to do is go ahead and take a look at finding the midpoints of my lines here and connecting down to the corners. And then finding that center point that way. So where those intersect, here we go. And then that would end up being the measurement there. Let me go ahead and put this in 2.5 and say finish sketch. So this is looking a little bit better now. Looks a little bit more centered. Okay, so what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to create a loft. So the loft option is under the create panel, loft. I can actually choose profiles. I can choose this profile that I did before. So this is actually, there's the shape that I'm getting. And then when I can go through, I can now take a look at setting in. Now you'll see I'm getting these kind of separated components where I just want to go through and get the circle. So maybe the thing that I want to do is go back into my edit sketch. That'll happen sometimes. And I can right click on these and turn these into a construction line, as well as some of these outside edges. So this will kind of help me with doing so. I can also hold the control key and select multiple lines and make them construction lines as well. So those are some things that we can do. So let me go grab the outside lines here and turn those into construction lines. So then that way I just have the circle. I'm going to say finish the sketch. Let's try that loft again, choosing this shape. Now you notice the circle is the only thing that's being grabbed. So that can kind of happen. I'll choose the circle, and now there will be the shape that kind of ends up happening. And I can go ahead and say join and then OK, and there would be our base, our new base there. Okay, as we take a look at number 18, we're going to add another tapered extrusion and a round. And so we're going to add a tapered extrusion to model the cylindrical portion of the base part. So the thing is we're going to add, I'm going to go through and be able to say extrude, choose the shape. Looks like about 1.5, and then the taper angle doesn't look like a whole lot, so maybe I'll do a -10. Again, that looks like a lot there, so 5, and that looks pretty good. So again, kind of taking a look at it from the side, that's looking pretty good there. Okay, so let's see here. Yeah, things are looking pretty good there. So look kind of distorted from the side. And then we're going to add a small round to the top edge. So we can do that utilizing the fillet tool, which is under the modify panel. It can also be up here. Fillet, and then our small round, if I just click along the top edge, Let's do 0.25. That looks a little bit too much. Maybe we do 0.125, an eighth of an inch. Still looks like a lot. 0.0625, let's do about a 16th. There we go. And that's looking a lot better. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say okay. And that would go through and finish up step number 18. So what we end up doing is we're going to go ahead and stop with this video, and gets us a few of our options created, gets our shell. We're going to be looking at our shell feature next in the next video, and hopefully looking at finishing out this screwdriver base.